Welcome to the Kerry Kinsey Show. We're talking Georgia Bulldogs. Rich Lenz tells us if we're ready for South Carolina. Something's not right about this Georgia offense. Why can't we run the rock? What's Bama's next move? Can Deion take the Buffs to a bowl game? Voddie Bacham says we need more men in this world, not more athletes. Are you up for the challenge? The Kerry Kinsey Show is next. Athens, we have a problem, or do we? We're 2-0, and the defense is so good, they're making kick picks. But once again, the offense never got off the bus early on. We can't run, and we can't run block. We're making receivers carry the pigskin, and that's a good thing. But check this out. Without a healthy, speedy bruiser toting the pigskin, play action is a waste of time. And hitch passes and tunnel screens are not Beck's calling card. He's got a big arm, but he looks like he's on a small, short leash. Free Carson! Free Carson! This is a vertical game, folks, and a lot of times we go horizontal. Our offense is looking like a video on the wrong speed. It still works, but something's not right. Do you see what I see? Welcome to the Kerry Kinsey Show, Rich.
I'm glad to be back, Kerry, and I love your opening monologues. I tend not to agree with them, which is great because that makes for a good conversation. Here's what I would be telling you. I think a lot of what you just said is accurate, but keep in mind who they played those first two games. Maybe Bobo is leaving a lot of that playbook untouched, right? Until we get to South Carolina and we face an opponent that actually might have the, I don't think they will, but has the ability and has a degree of talent that could possibly beat the Bulldogs. So what I'm saying is it's vanilla. What you're seeing is vanilla, and you're seeing injuries to running backs that haven't been out there. Milton's not the same. They're going to get Edwards back this week. And here's what I think. Why not give that little dude the ball? Why not give him some carries out of the backfield?
Oh, man, he looked great, didn't he?
Star in the making, Muse.
Yeah. I agree. Look at this. 60 yards rushing by anyone with the name running back under their title. And that's it. Edwards might play. Ladd, we hope, plays. Yeah, I'll give you that. We got a lot of injuries. But how about this? How about the Hal Mummy offense? I was in Louisville in the 90s, and we used to go out to Lexington for Hal Mummy. And you know what? That was exciting. I mean, we've got 99 receivers already. Let's line them up and let's let them go. I love the Mummy air raid offense. Let's bring it into Athens. Do you think our OC is that forward thinking?
No, he is not. And I'll agree. I mean, the offense just comes out beyond being 0-0 at the end of 15 minutes. They're lacking juice. There's no doubt about it. But, like I said, I think they're keeping it close to the vest. I think you're going to see some more enlightening material from Bobo this week. I'll be surprised if we don't. But I do like the team and the core of receivers and the newcomers and the transfer portal receivers. They're really looking great. But, when you see, I guess it was 86. What's 86's name? As a true running back, you're going, hold on. Now, what's going on? That's not Georgia football. To have a true wide receiver lining up, because he had a nice run, right? But I think when we get Edwards back and we get Milton healthy, we'll be a lot better off. And I'm serious. Mekhi Muse, I'd put him in the backfield about 7 yards deep, let him get ahead of steam, and let him go. Pitch it to him, let him run around the corner. That guy's dynamic, electrifying.
Yeah, I love what he's got. So, I mean, we're what, like 20? They're 24-point dogs, something like that. We should be crushing these people.
Well, there was an interesting statistic. So Kirby's been favored by 40 10 times, I believe, in the last several years, right? 40 or more. He's never covered the spread in any of them, at least the first 9. They might have covered on Saturday, but the first 9 he didn't. Kirby doesn't run it up, man. Kirby just doesn't. Kirby gets his 35, 40-point lead and just calls off the dogs, no pun intended. So, I'm here in an area, Oklahoma, where the Sooners, that's in their DNA. If they can beat you 80-0, they will. I kind of like Vince Dooley never really ran it up, and Kirby never really ran it up. I kind of like that. I think to me that's almost the Georgia way. They don't want to totally embarrass anybody.
All right, good.
But they didn't embarrass TCU last year in the championship game.
Oh yeah, man, that was.
They couldn't help themselves,
ugly.
Man. They could have scored 8. They could have scored 80 against TCU.
Wow, what happened Saturday night in Tuscaloosa? I wasn't ready for that. Were you?
Replay last week, and I told you how impressed I was by the Alabama Crimson Tide. I thought they were going to just show that they were the Tide of old. But I thought when I looked at Alabama, I said that team looks kind of like the Georgia squad that stepped off the bus the last couple of years. Just they looked big, they looked talented, and they look like they're back a little bit. I would be very wary of Alabama this year. They looked strong on both sides of the ball. Watch out for those boys. Bad take. Did not age well, that take. They got stomped. They got rolled, man. They got rolled, and I never would have thought that was going to happen in Tuscaloosa. So a lot went wrong, and I was wrong because I was right here talking with you last week saying, don't worry, Alabama's back. They'll show it against Texas. No, they did not.
Yeah, Milroe, I don't know. When he throws the ball, it's like, I don't know where it's going. I mean, I just have that feeling like, And so, you know what? His 40 time is not that great. It's like 4.6 and some change. So do you see a change there at quarterback?
I don't think the kid from Notre Dame's any good.
Yeah.
I really don't. I don't think he wasn't any good at Notre Dame, in my opinion. He wasn't all that great. So I don't see him being the choice. And the other guy, I think they battled it out, right? You would assume in the summer practices. And obviously, Saban knows what he's doing. And right now, I think Milroe's his best guy. And if that's the case, they're in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah. Let's talk about Auburn. Unfortunately, my wife and I fell asleep on the couch watching that snore fest. This Peyton Thorne is supposed to be a film junkie. I think he didn't watch enough film. That was ugly.
Well, I tell you what, the SEC right now isn't exactly knocking it out of the ballpark,
right.
By any stretch of the imagination. I mean, LSU got stomped by FSU. Georgia's been fine, but they haven't played anybody. Alabama gets stomped by Texas, so it's going around. I mean, the SEC right now is getting beaten by other conferences.
Yeah, and Tennessee barely, I don't want to say barely, but they snored through Austin Peay. So maybe in the finals, only one team from our league making it there. I can see that. Yeah, sure. Last year for the 4 team, let's just hope it's the Dawgs, all right? If only one team makes it, let's make sure it's Georgia. Yeah. A&M, you know what? Boosters, go ahead and get your money and do that buyout because that Petrino-Jimbo combo stinks.
That's another one. I mean, that's another game. Miami really took it to them. And we're just not used to seeing the ACCs and the Pac-12s and the ACCs, do this to SEC ball clubs. So obviously South Carolina is an SEC team, but I think Georgia better be ready because the best of the SEC has not really been all that impressive. And obviously we got Florida losing as well to Utah. So.
All right, top 25 poll, coaches poll, Dogs, Wolverines, Noles, Bucks, Trojans, Horns at 6. And, same for the AP, about the same, except Horns at 4, Buckeyes at 6th. I like that poll. I don't like all those first place votes for anybody but the Dawgs.
Now we finally agree on something. I guess we've agreed on a few things, but that's for sure. I know they haven't played anybody, but any talk of anybody else but Georgia being number one after they've basically pitched close. Yeah, they haven't pitched 2 shutouts, but they came close. They're doing what they got to do. They're number one, but they better be ready for South Carolina, because if the good Spencer Rattler shows up, all right, then that can pose some problems. If he's playing well, that can pose some problems, and Georgia better be ready to come out of the gate.
Yeah, I like Rattler. I just don't think they have much besides him. I think Beamer was going in the right direction for a while. Not so sure now.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I liked his dad, of course. And, so I actually hope he does well at South Carolina, but we'll see.
All right. Hey, can Deion Sanders take the Buffs bowling after the season's over? What do you say?
They're going to a bowl. Yeah, they're going to a bowl. Now, is it a New Year's Day bowl? Is it a Big Six bowl? I'm not sure about that. But if he takes them bowling, it's going to be a huge success. I just hope they seem to be reveling in the chip on the shoulder. We're being disrespected. And I just hope they don't take that too far. Deion did it week 1. His son did it week 2. And I think that us against the world and nobody respects us and even the other overtones to that, that's going to get old quick, because I don't think people are disrespecting the Buffs now, So I kind of like to see them just go out and play football and not do so much talking afterwards.
Yeah. That rah-rah stuff only goes so far. I saw that when I covered Clemson. They had George Allen, the former Washington Redskins coach, come in and give a rah-rah, speech. And those 18-year-olds, they couldn't care less about that. But I'll tell you, I don't think Deion is coaching as much as he is promoting. And I saw that when I was in Louisville with Denny Crum in his latter years. I saw Scooter McRae. Scooter was running the program. Meanwhile, 60 miles down the road, Rick Pitino, he was spanking some tails. One time we walked out of there and he was cursing like a sailor before we could even get the doors closed. So you can see the difference in people running programs. I think Deion is promoting. He's hired great coordinators and they're doing the job, Rich. Not so much him.
Yeah, I think he's motivating on a level that is spectacular, and I think he is again in the world of football, especially in the NFL, but in college football too. It's a copycat thing.
Yeah,
and so I think you're going to see more of these sort of dynamic former athletes becoming head coaches now at a level. I think Deion is going to open the door to a lot more former player African-American coaches. And I think that's a great thing. There's a few of them out there. There's not enough. There's certainly not enough in the NFL. And I think, because I just think Deion can get through to these kids and he can reach them. So whether he's doing the X's and O's, he's reaching deep into their hearts and the hearts of their parents. And with that kind of salesmanship that I think he actually believes, Colorado's looks to be real. I do look forward to the time where they get into a rough, and they got Oregon coming up. I'd like to see what happens when adversity hits Colorado. That's what I want to see. How the team reacts to it then, how Deion reacts to it then. That'll be interesting.
All right, Rich Lenz, we always appreciate your input, buddy. And you know what? Go Dogs!
Go Dogs!
All right, Rich Lenz, thank you for being on the Kerry Kinsey Show, buddy.
Always my friend.
Thanks again, Rich. I'm from Atlanta. I liked what Deion did for the Falcons and the Braves, for that matter. Go to our last show and see what Rich and I said about covering a young Deion as sports anchor reporters. But there's no way he can confess to being a Christian and keep receipts on what people said about him or hold grudges with folks who he believes disrespected his son. This just in: if you follow Jesus Christ, you will be persecuted in this world. Deion is not the first or the last athlete who has claimed to be a Christian while acting in a manner that does not please the Lord. Check out what Voddie Bacham says. He tells us why we need more men in this world and not more athletes. By the way, this is not for young ears.
If a man wants to call himself a man from a biblical perspective, these things have to be in place. Now, unfortunately, first we got to do some deprogramming here. I want you to understand what has happened to us. We define manhood. It has been said by the 3 B's, okay? We define manhood on the ball field, in the bedroom, and by the billfold. In our culture, that's how we've been taught to define manhood. On the ball field, in the bedroom, and by the billfold. That's it. How does he perform athletically? How does he perform sexually? How is he with the ladies? And how much money does he have? That's how we define manhood in our culture, whether we like it or not. And unfortunately, for those of us who claim to be followers of Christ, and in large part because of what we've just heard, our definitions are no different. We define manhood by the 3 B's. I am the homeschool father of 4. My oldest son is not with me today. He travels with me. I travel about 8 days a month. Any less, and it'd be hard for me to feed my family. Any more, it'd be hard for me to say with a straight face that they're the most important thing in my world. But I travel about 8 days a month, and my oldest son travels with me. He does that full time. From the time my oldest son became 13 years old, I became his teacher. When he was 13, he went through a manhood ceremony, and one of the parts of that entering into manhood was his mother turned over the books, and I became his teacher of all of his subjects, and more specifically, his discipler. He is my disciple. There is no man in the world that is more important for me to disciple than my son. And so as a result of that, he spends his time traveling with me. And the interesting thing about that is I get a lot of questions, several questions I get, People look at me and they go, you're a pretty big guy. You look like you're a ball player or something like that. So yep, been there, done that. Okay, it's great. Son, he's 14. He's pretty big kid. And I'm just wondering, with you guys doing this, how's he going to play ball? When people say that to me, here's what I hear. I want to know how your son is going to be able to worship at the altar of the sport god. To which I respond, who cares? I don't. It's meaningless. It's absolutely meaningless. We don't need another ball player. We don't. We need men with trained minds. We need men with godly, biblical character. We need men with multi-generational vision. We need men who commit themselves in all their faculties to the glory of Almighty God. I am raising a warrior for Christ. That's what I'm raising. Not an entertainer. That's not what I'm raising. A warrior for Christ. Who cares? Well, team sports, they build character. Really? Do you really believe that? Do you really believe that? Because if you believe that, let's test your premise. Team sports build character. That means guys who spend more time in team sports ought to have more character than guys who don't. So the guys in this culture with the greatest character ought to be in the NFL and the NBA. Is that your final answer? That's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Wow, that was strong. My wife Angela edits these shows. She's the best. She puts in a lot of time on them. As a way of showing your appreciation, would you mind smashing that like button, commenting, sharing, and even donating? We have a broken tripod, our camera is on its last leg, and we'd like to hire some help too. Please support the Kerry Kinsey Show by sending your offering to the Kerry Kinsey Show, P.O. Box 6054, Jensen Beach, Florida 34957, or donate through our website at thekerrykinseyshow.com and look for the Give button. We're on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, Instagram, and X, formerly Twitter. Thanks for watching The Kerry Kinsey Show, and remember, there's no hope for this world except in Jesus Christ. Jesus is Lord.